Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Vol Society Live on this Tuesday night. My name is David Morrison from the Vol Society Network, here to welcome you to your show. This is not just my show, this is y'all's show. Each and every Tuesday night, right here, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central. This is your chance to send your comments, your questions, your thoughts on the game. Like I said, the chat room is open. Brad's about to join us just a moment in the chat room. And like I said, we'll get it going here. We're getting a lot of viewership in here. Give our first shout out to Brad, giving us a like, and Ricky for giving us a reaction on the Facebook page. Brad is in right now. It says Go Vols. Like I said, this is your chance to send your questions, your comments. Like I said, score predictions. Tell us where you're watching us from tonight. Like I said, the chat room is open. We'll talk about the Tennessee South Carolina game tonight. Uh, huge game. Huge game. As you see, we got dark mode. Well, maybe if I move the graphic out of the way, David. There we go. It is dark mode weekend. We're ready to go. It's going to be an electric atmosphere this Saturday night at Shields Walking Field at Neyland Stadium. Brad says huge game this weekend. Definitely so. I think this is going to be the most electric atmosphere in the entire college football weekend. I cannot wait for this Saturday, and I'll go ahead and make that announcement. Shout out to my grandparents that's watching. Vol Society will be there. There it is. The Vol Society crew will be live at the game Saturday. Brad Frank, myself, David Dees. We're all going to be there live and in living color in our dark mode gear. We are so excited about being there this Saturday. South Carolina, Tennessee. You may call it the revenge game. You may call it the anxiety game. Whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, come find us, hang out with us. We're going to be down near, I think it'll be around gate 21. We're going to try to catch the ball walk and the band. Hopefully we can run into Eric Ainge while we're down there. But yeah, really cool. Like I said, don't forget where you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, uh, Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. Leave your comments, your questions. Chat room is open. And also, if you're on the Facebook page, don't forget to visit the shop. We have a shop now button on the uh, on the Facebook page. So really cool stuff here. Let's see here. Somebody else. Oh, Jared, our buddy Jared Wright, giving us a like on the Facebook page. All right. Kind of quiet in the chat room. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, like I said, leave your comments, questions as we go along. All right, so Tennessee, South Carolina. I got some notes here. Uh, Obviously, a huge game coming up on Saturday. Gamecocks 2-2 on the year with wins over Furman and Mississippi State, which they got last week. Losses to North Carolina and Georgia. Obviously, the Georgia game, they led at the half in Athens, but ended up falling to that game. Let's see here. Whitney says, "What's y'all's prediction?" Well, on the podcast, we had a split thoughts on the game. Also watching us from Tazewell, Tennessee. Thank you, Whitney. Awesome. So Brad is going with Tennessee. I can't remember everybody's score. Brad says 34-31 Vols. D's went with South Carolina, and I unfortunately went with South Carolina too. I'm going 33-30 South Carolina. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just going to say that I'm not trying to say South Carolina's going to guarantee win. I hope Tennessee comes out there and takes care of South Carolina, but just kind of the way I've been seeing this team been performing the last couple of weeks against against Florida, a little bit against UTEP, also seeing it against Austin Peay. I'm just very concerned about kind of the secondary per se, and you're going up against Spencer Rattler. Brad says Vols has to win this one. Yes, they definitely do need to win this one. This is a huge this is a must-win game really for both coaches, but definitely I think more for Josh Heupel. Especially you don't want to start SEC play 0-2. I mean we've done that before, but it's just that you just don't want to go back down that road. You want to continue this momentum. You got a great crowd. You're gonna have a great crowd Saturday night. Becky watching us from Cape Coral, Florida. Go Big Orange. Thank you, Becky, from watching us down in the Sunshine State. But, you look at Spencer Rattler on the year, over 1,200 yards passing already, 74% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The last 2 games, rushing wise, 16 carries, 78 yards, no touchdowns. But like I said, he's going to be a big key player. Toby, uh, not a fan of South Carolina. Appreciate that, Toby. Um, let's see here. As far as like Rattler goes, he's been sacked quite a bit. Obviously, in week 1 against North Carolina, he was sacked 9 times in that game. But it's really obviously dropped since then. Uh, you got to find a way to stop Spencer Rattler. He's right now been the hottest quarterback in the last couple of weeks in the SEC. You gotta number one, your crowd noise is gonna have to be effective, and I think that crowd is going to be, like I said, electric on Saturday. Uh, Crowd's gonna have to play havoc in cutting out their communication, uh, forcing them maybe some pre-snap penalties, maybe delay games, taking some early timeouts. Uh, but the other thing is you're gonna have to find a way to contain Spencer Rattler. I mean, yes, Spencer Rattler has not played in some big games before. Uh, uh, oh, Toby says, no, I'm not because they're making fun of our quarterback last year when he's got hurt. I understand. Gotcha. I got you there, Toby. Yeah, it. We got to get revenge on it. I do agree with you on that. But you're gonna have to find a way to contain him. He's played in some big games. Spencer Rattler has, but like I said, you're gonna have to force him into some third and long situations. And Tim Banks is going to have to really dial up probably his best game plan all year. You're going to have to go after Spencer Rattler. Yes, he can run. Yes, he can. He's played in some big games. It's a big stadium, so maybe the crowd noise won't affect as much as maybe some of the others. But you're going to have to find a way to get pressure on him. North Carolina sacked him 9 times. It's going to be very tough to get him 10 times. But I mean, just a very it's going to be a very tall test, but I think we can do it. Jared says need the secondary to step up, especially on third down. Absolutely, definitely going to have to step up big. That and like I said, that's going to be kind of my concern. Jared is just we've seen kind of the same guys out there. Your Kamal Haddons, your Brandon Turnages, Warren Burrells. They're going to have to play their best game of the year, or just pray that this our linebackers and defensive linemen just pressure him and doesn't force a lot of passes. Toby says, "Can you talk about the Florida game for a minute?" Yeah, I can. It was just Tennessee was just not prepared for the Gators. Was not ready for that atmosphere. We thought. I thought the play calling was very conservative, and even on defense, we were out coached. Florida wanted it more. That second quarter is completely unraveled. I thought Joe Milton looked good, but not great. Offensive line is still not where they need to be, especially with Cooper Mays out. A lot of pre-snap penalties. Some of that was with Ollie Lane, or playing the center position, kind of got caught in those pre-snap penalties, and then just it just kind of unraveled at the end there, and just a lot of frustration. Yeah, and Brad coaching and Brad playing. Chad says, "What's up, Vol Pete's? It's chicken roasting week. Go Big Orange." Yes, it is. I can't wait for Saturday. Uh, and then he says, "What do you think of Joe so far?" Joe is what he is. He's consistently inconsistent. At times he looks fine, and I really enjoyed really enjoyed him in the first half. I thought they made a good game plan for him. I love him running the ball. I wish he can do that more. Uh, I mean, he's 6'5" and can run probably, I'd say, just as quick as Hendon could. Very elusive. I mean, we saw it on that opening touchdown. UTSA was not ready for it. Even the bubble screens I thought looked good. It's just that deep ball, you just never know what's going to do. And Joe has all the tools in the tool chest. He's just got to find a way to use them. And I just don't know if that's going to happen at this time. And Brad concurs, inconsistent. Ricky says, "What is the status of Cooper Mays?" And he's watching us from Mobile, Alabama. Awesome. Uh, it's still kind of up in the air as far as Cooper Mays goes. It seems like every time we hear, "Oh yeah, he's going to play," he's not. Um, uh, yeah, it's just it's kind of just up in there. I think if there's a time for him to come back, it's definitely in this game because you got to get this offensive line squared away, get that tempo going. It looked good last week against UTSA, but once you get Cooper Mason there, get everybody set up, snap that ball, I think you can see a major improvement in that offensive line. Brad says if they don't play Dylan Sampson like they did against Florida, I'm scheduling an appointment with those coaches. Yeah, I think they got the message pretty clear. Didn't see Dylan Sampson against Florida. Go back to you, Toby. That's the other thing. He was missing in action. We saw a lot of Jalen Wright and Jabari Small, but no Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson's been probably the most consistent running back. Well, not the. He has been the most consistent running back we've had all season. I think last week he really came out and proved his statement. Led the team in rushing against UTSA, a couple touchdowns. So, and he leads the team in touchdowns. So, yeah, I think I expect to see a lot of Dylan Sampson, and I would, and I like Jalen Wright, and I like Jabari Small. They're both fine too, but I think as far as like getting a bulk of the carries, I would go with Dylan Sampson. I think he is hungry. The whole cheat in the cage he posted on his social media. I think he really mean it. I think he was hurt for not playing in that Florida game, and he went out there and played. And you know, who knows what's going to happen at the end of the year? I'm not trying to spread any rumors or innuendos, but you could, a couple of years ago when the transfer portal was open all season, I could have seen a situation similar where Dylan Sampson be like, I didn't get to play against Florida. What's the point of me even trying to stick out with this team? I'll just go ahead and kind of just announce I'm leaving and moving on, and who it's just I'm glad Dylan Sampson, yeah, he said what he said, but he came out firing away against UTSA and had a great game, and I will love, and I think we're going to see a lot of Dylan Sampson coming up on Saturday night. Brad saying anyone going to the game Saturday, like I said, Vol Society crew will be there Saturday. Like I said, we'll be near Gate 21, and you'll see us in the Vol Society stuff. We'll have our black on and be ready to go. Get a sweet here. Hang on. Toby's saying, can you talk about Georgia? Sure. So Georgia to me, um, Georgia kind of like last year relies a lot on their defense. Their defense has kept them in a lot of games. Switching offensive coordinators to Mike Bobo has been pretty interesting. Of course, they got a new quarterback in Carson Beck, no more mailman anymore. I like their running backs. I mean, Brock Bowers, best tight end in the country. So, there's still going to be a tall task. Even though they do come to Neyland this year, I just think they just got the best talent roster in the country. Like I said, they were down 14-0 against South Carolina at their place, but they did come back and win by 10. So yeah, I don't see right now. I really don't see Georgia three-peating at this moment. Um, but crazy things have happened. I think there's a lot of really solid teams, and like I said, once we roll into October, I mentioned on the podcast, you're going to see the contenders from the pretenders. You're going to see who's really going to be who's going to be there. Jared says, "Yes, sir. I definitely try to find you guys. Awesome." And then Toby says, "Georgia, Tennessee. That's going to be a great one. It's going to be another electric atmosphere, and that especially of course it all depends on where obviously we are by then." Kevin Huckabee joining in says, "What's up, y'all? Go Vols! Order me a hat, so I'm supporting." Thank you, Kevin. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Like I said, be like Kevin. Order you some Vol Society swag. If you're on the Facebook page, we have a shop now button, as you see, or if you're not there, there's the website right across on the bottom of the screen, just trickling off there. Brad's asking tailgating anywhere, I guess for Jared. Yeah, I'm very excited about this game. Like I said, it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be going to be nervous. It's going to be a nervous atmosphere and an anxious atmosphere, but going to be a lot of fun. Um, John says, "Go Big Orange, Mr. B." Missed you at the reunion, band alumni reunion there, Mr. B, but it's all good. I know where you're at. Toby says, "Can you talk about Alabama?" Yeah, I can. It's no big deal. Bama. I've mentioned this before on several shows. I just don't think Bama is that scary big bag wolf team of the SEC like we've seen them in years past. They still kind of inconsistent with quarterback. It seems like Jalen Melrose going to be their guy going forward, and I guess that's fine. They still got good talent. It's just a lot of coaching changes, and Nick Saban seems like he was hitting home runs and grand slams with offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. I just don't think he really hit it this time with Kevin Steele as their defensive coordinator and with Tommy Reese as the offensive coordinator, bringing in Tyler Buckner. They had that really poor performance against South Florida. Granted, they were distracted by weather and maybe a little bit of the up-tempo offense from South Florida with Alex Golesh, who was our offensive coordinator last year. So, they already suffered a loss to Texas. So I think Bama could easily lose one or two more games throughout the year, but they'll still be a solid team in the SEC. Band legend Brad Frank. Kevin says, I'm getting to go to the Texas A&M game. It'll be my first SEC game. Second time seeing the Vols play. Awesome. I will be at that Texas A&M game too, Kevin. So maybe we'll run into each other. Talking about Kevin says his hat will be here the 28th. Yeah. Morrison will be at that. Yeah, I'm at the A&M game. Jerry said nothing. Planned, just checking out if you're the normal fan. Okay. Let's see here. Shelby says, "Will Vanderbilt ever have a team?" Probably not. I mean, there's some talent on that team, but yeah, it's just that they've always just kind of been at the bottom of the SEC and just afraid they're going to kind of get raked through the coals again. I figured they would have put up a little bit of a better fight with Kentucky, but that didn't happen. Kevin says, "Yes, sir, definitely. Look forward to that." Ricky says, "Let's take one game at a time." Tinkertown on the list. Awesome. Hey, yeah, one game at a time. Like I said, can't wait till. Like I said, we'll see how we do. Brad says, "What's everyone's score prediction?" Parker Davis says, "Are we all wearing black?" Yes, dark mode, black uniforms, black helmet, black uniforms. I mentioned. Gonna be exciting to see. This will be second time, actually, the second home game in a row that we wore our black uniforms. We wore it 2 years ago against South Carolina, but we didn't have the black helmets yet. We still had the white helmet. Uh, so gonna be a lot of fun. Toby says, "I think Tennessee's going to beat Alabama." Oh, we had a question on the podcast recently: is Tennessee going to beat Alabama? And you're going 45-35. Tennessee wins. Okay. Yeah, you're kind of you're on Brad's side there. I'm still a little hesitant. I gotta, if Tennessee comes out and just runs all over South Carolina and runs all over Texas A&M, then yeah, I would consider. But I'm just still a little nervous energy about that. Let's see. Parker says, "I'm talking about as fans. Do we wear black?" I would say so. They didn't really get specific as far as yes, all the fans have to wear black, but I'm sure you're going to see a lot of dark mode, black t-shirts, hats, and stuff. So more than likely, you'll see a lot of that. So hopefully clears that up. Jared says on the game Saturday, 31-28 field goal to win it. Awesome. That would be exciting to see. John says, "How is South Carolina's D-line? Will they get to Milton?" Well, South Carolina right now, I got some notes here. They've only been given up 117 yards rushing. So, yeah, they've been very good. A lot of their tacklers, John, have been in the as defensive backs. Debo, or I guess it's Debo Williams, Debo Williams, leads the team in tackles at 31 and 20 solo. He's a linebacker, but lot of their guys have really been DBs at leads and tackles, but still only giving up 117 yards rushing. Now they do give up 317 yards passing after 4 games, so uh, I will say they will try their best to get to Milton. But like I said, I think Milton, if he can feel confident in running the ball and getting out of the pocket and try not to force too many of his deep balls down the field where it goes incomplete, I think we can be fine. This has to be a big game for Milton right here. I'm not saying go out there and light 350 on him, which that'd be nice, but if he can go out there and get his average around 220 and maybe run for 100 yards along with like Dylan Sampson or whatever, I think they'll be fine. Tennessee's going to have to, even though South Carolina's only gave up 117 yards per game, Tennessee's going to at least have to get 300 yards rushing, I think, to really be in this game, and also put South Carolina under I would say maybe like 110 yards rushing themselves to really be in there. Toby says, "What about a Georgia upset?" Maybe, but still, still kind of up in the air. Brad says, "Can you share our podcast name so people can find us?" So yes, our podcast is called Good Old Rocky Talk. TALK. We're available on Amazon, Spotify, Apple podcast platforms. Hit the wrong button there. So yeah, that's where you can listen to it, us each and every Tuesday. Brad, myself, David Dees. We break down last week's game. We answer your questions. If you want to leave a comment or question for the podcast, leave it on our Facebook page or on our social media pages in general, and we'll read it on the air and then preview the upcoming games. And we have a lot of fun. We had a pretty fun episode this past week. A lot of debate, and of course, we also talk about Travis Kelce and all that stuff. Pretty wild. Okay, let's see here. Go back to more of your questions. Great podcast from Kevin. Everybody did for the most part last year against Kentucky about wearing black. Okay, so I kind of expect to see that too. Deborah says Tennessee Vols 53-35. I love your optimism, Deborah. Yeah, Deborah. I think I said Debbie. I apologize. Let's see. Toby says, "Can I ask a question? Why does everyone hate Tennessee?" We're the best. That's why. And Brad says, "Because we have the best fan base ever." Robin saying, "Go Vols." Uh, let's see here. Jared says Milton has to run the ball as another option. He's big enough to run guys over. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love that first quarter. Just going back, I mean, obviously the opening touchdown was great, but even he had a nice little run off to the right side, picked up about 7-8 yards. Uh, he's going to have to be a big key factor. If Milton wants to have a real breakout game, and we were comparing him where he's at as far as other SEC quarterbacks go, we kind of put him in the middle of the road. If he wants to take that next step up, his legs are going to have to do it. Uh, we know about the arm, and we know how inconsistent the arm has been. But be like a Cam Newton out there, a good Cam Newton, not a bad Cam Newton. Be like a really good Cam Newton out there, and just run the ball. John says, "Good old Rocky Talk is amazing. Listen to it every week." Thank you very much. Oh, look, we got Angela T-Lander. "My son is linebacker Jeremiah T-Lander. Underdogs in terms of stars, but he will change the pace of the team." Thank you very much, Angela, for watching us. We like Jeremiah T-Lander. Very cool. Very cool. Um, Thank you for watching us. Awesome. Well, and we had a mom a few weeks ago join us on the Go Rocky Talk. Let's see here. Toby says, "Have a good night, man. Go Vols. You're next South Carolina fans." Yep. And good old Rocky Top. Make sure you listen to the podcast, Toby. Good old Rocky Talk. We really break down that game too. But thank you, Toby. And you're welcome, Ms. T. Lander. Um, let's see here. Greg says, "We've always been super hype in dark mode." Yeah. Um, Now this will be. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, maybe the fourth or fifth time we've done dark mode to a certain degree. I know we did it against Georgia 2 years ago. and which we lost in that one. But South Carolina we won, and the Kentucky, yeah. So this will be the fourth time, and the Kentucky game, we all knew what had happened. Brad says perhaps we can have Jeremiah on the podcast for an interview. Be awesome. And thank you again, Toby, for being a part of our show tonight. Continue those comments and questions. Like I said, this is a huge game, guys. Like I said, we got a lot. There's a lot of questions I can answer. Your comments, your concerns, score predictions. If you're going the game, yeah, this is a big game, especially for Josh Heupel. And we're not putting Josh Heupel on blast or anything, but you know we don't need to start 0-2 in SEC play because it's going to be a very long road to get back. Brad says sold out, right? Yes, this game is sold out. The only tickets are available are from third party, secondary markets, resells. But General Mission went out actually several weeks ago for this game. So this will be another consecutive sold out game at Neyland Stadium. It's awesome. Best fans in the world. Greg says it's a big game for the offensive line. Yes, huge game too. Huge game. And like I said, this is why I think Milton can be an extra option. You know, big thing for the offensive lineman, and I know it's going to be tough, but no holding calls, especially on those big explosive plays, big running plays, screen passes. Try to avoid holding calls. That's going to be a huge factor. Like I said, we've been the most penalized team the last couple of years in the SEC, and next thing, that's the next thing we don't need is just getting behind the sticks like that. Brad says we can't kill ourselves. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just so much. Any other questions or comments? Really, really good question there, Greg. And like I said, maybe getting Cooper Mays back this week. Hopefully he'll be back. Maybe that will clear a lot of it up. Been kind of, and yeah, Greg says hopefully we'll have Coop and Mincy finally together. Yeah, absolutely. Brad says I'm hoping Coop is back. Yeah, definitely so. I like everybody else on the offensive line. I like John Campbell. Dane Davis is, knock on wood, been healthy. Um, you know, Crawford's been fine. We got some good guys. It's not a trash offensive line. It's just, it's kind of inconsistent. Even Ollie Lane's done fine in his absence. I know the Florida game, he really was not on his game at all. A lot of penalties on him, unfortunately. But just going to have to really protect Joe Milton, and then and hopefully Tennessee gets a great game plan going. And I mentioned this on the podcast. I really and even several times tonight. I really love what Tennessee did in that first half. I thought really established a good tempo. It seemed like the guys were very comfortable. Yeah, UTSA is an inferior opponent, but just I thought the team had a lot of spark and energy in that first half, especially after that Milton touchdown. The crowd was into it, and they just felt very comfortable. But third quarter just kind of wasn't that good, and that's where I'm having my concerns with. Is just kind of seeing that third quarter now. Like I said, they did better in the fourth quarter. We got Nico in there. Um, Brad says, should we do a live segment on Facebook this Saturday from the game? So, give a yes or no question to that if you want us to do a live segment. John Burrows says yes for a live segment. And kind of going back more to the quarterback situation, I was very surprised that Nico didn't start that second half. I kind of wish he did start the second half. But, I mentioned on the podcast once again, Taylor Davis, who was a sideline reporter, mentioned that they told Dave Neal, Derek Mason, and them that you don't expect to see Nico to play. They felt comfortable with Milton, so it's definitely a little concern there. Jared says, which worries you more in this game, defensive secondary, or O-line pass blocking? Both really, but definitely defense, the secondary, especially going back to containing Spencer Rattler. Spencer's played in a lot of big games. Um, this is his first trip to Neyland. It's probably going to be the loudest stadium he's played in his college career. But this is a former five-star offensive or former five-star quarterback. He went to Oklahoma. It was a Heisman preseason favorite. Ended up losing the job to Caleb Williams and transferred to South Carolina. And done a pretty remarkable job for the most part there. You know, it's just kind of his, trying to pick up a huge win is what kind of his deal. But yeah, our secondary is that's just what scares me. It's the same guys we had last year. Spencer Rattler threw 6 touchdowns against us, and they did lose some guys to the transfer portal. Jaheim Bell and like Mark Andrews, I think was another one. One other person, but you still got Decorian Joyner who burned us last year. Trey Nossa tied in. Xavier Ledick doing a really good job. So it's going to be that secondary is going to have to really get going. Or like I said before, uh, yeah, otherwise, just going to have to sack them 9 times like North Carolina did, or 10 times. It's going to be probably a greater challenge. Let's see here. Tyler says, anyone else wish Caden Slaughter could have stuck it out? I really think he would have done well in this offense. I think he would have done too. He just had some attitude issues on campus. He would have had to really work on his maturity, but yeah, I think he would have been fine. It's just got off to a wrong foot and just never got it recovered. Unfortunately, hopefully he's doing fine at Liberty. Let's see. Greg says it'll be nice to have Peely back. Yeah, middle linebacker's been. I thought it looked a little bit better with Elijah Herring. I think he's getting a little more comfortable. Aaron Carter had a couple of nice tackles, but I think Peely, another kind of a leader out there like him and Cooper Mays, just getting that team set up and ready to go. And Peely's done a great job coming in and kind of taking leadership right out of the gate. But you do have some promising linebackers in the future, Herring and Aaron Carter. But you like to have that veteran out there. I mean, Beasley's out there, but Beasley's been kind of playing everywhere. He was lined up as a safety, linebacker, edge rusher, so he's just kind of uh, a little switchblade knife there, just kind of, or Swiss Army knife, I should say, of being wherever they need them. Greg says, I hope and definitely hope our defense backs are focused and ready for Rattler. Yeah. I guess a little bit of a optimism is we did get a couple picks last week from Tamari McDonald and Warren Burrell, but you were taking on, guys probably worse than Spencer Rattler. Although I will give Owen McCowan credit. He did a good job in the second half, even though we weren't ready for him. Chad says, yes, we need Cooper back in the O-line to stay healthy, and that O-line can get gelled together for the rest of the season strong. Absolutely. I think that's, like I said, if we get Cooper back and he's healthy and 100% going, yeah, we can still finish on a strong season. Greg says we got to have pressure. Yep. Brad says I'm afraid we're just going to have to score more points because I don't think we have a ton of faith in our defensive backs. Yeah, I can see it being a high scoring game. Yeah, that's why I think a lot of the score predictions are high up there. It's going to be kind of similar to what we thought the Ole Miss game was going to be. Maybe kind of like the Ole Miss game. Hopefully, everybody's a little more patient with the outcomes and stuff like that. Let's see here. Kevin says it'd be nice if we played like them, like we did in Kentucky last year in Black Beast mode. I would love that. I would love to have a jump out to a big lead against them and just control the game. We did it 2 years ago. I went back and watched those highlights a couple of years ago and jumped out to a 28-0 lead. A couple of turnovers by South Carolina, and that was a noon game too. I remember, and I was there at that game, and it was a pretty relaxed atmosphere. It was a loud atmosphere, but it was nothing compared to what we're going to have Saturday. Yeah, it's just that'll be nice to get. Let's see. Game time. Who scores the first touchdown? Might as well go with Dylan Sampson. I think he'll get the first touchdown. And like I said, the game will be 7:30 Eastern Time Saturday night on the SEC Network. Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, Cole Kubelik on the call. Nicholas says, got a strange vibe for the game. For this game, one of us is going to get blown out. Hopefully, it's the Gamecocks getting blown out there, Nicholas. Uh, and Brad agrees with me, going Samson. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I know if we're all. Hopefully, it's a Tennessee blowout, not a South Carolina blowout, because I got to ride back with David D Saturday night. I don't think we're going to have a fun car ride back. Hopefully, it's a great car ride back, and um, be a lot of fun. I'm just happy. Normally, anytime Tennessee plays South Carolina, I always get invited to a wedding. So I'm glad nobody's getting married this weekend. It feels like that's happened the last several years. I don't know why people do fall weddings, but that's another story for another day. Anyways, Jared says at least this is an offense second score compared to a few years back. Yeah, you know, going back 2 years ago, South Carolina was struggling at quarterback. Brad says, "At least you're not driving back with me, with me." Yeah, exactly. You have your buddy with you Saturday going back. Yeah, I mean, like I said, going back to Jared's question, or comment, they had Luke Doty at quarterback, and this was at that time they had that walk on grad assistant coach was playing quarterback, and yeah, I mean, you talk about kind of how much the transfer portal plays an impact. You go from the outhouse to the penthouse. And I got a lot of respect for Spencer Rattler uh, for what he's done, and it made a big difference. And he's putting up great numbers right now, and this is a huge game for him. Phil says, "Hi, David from the Smoky Mountains." Hello, Phil. Thank you for watching along on Boss Society Live. Hope you're enjoying the Smokies. Great. Like I said, the leaves are starting to change. They're changing at my house. Starting to get in the yard. So always a good time, even though it's still kind of humid, but it's all good. See. Brad says, Jared, I could sure see you looking good in a Boss Society hat at the McMinn games. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Our buddy Jared, who's in the chat room, got to talk to former VFL Shajon Bradley, linebacker from the 80s. So really cool. The big homecoming weekend at McMinn County High School. By the way, while we're on this subject, kind of switching subjects, if you will. Jared says, I'm going to hit the shop tonight. Awesome. And Greg says, the license plates are starting to change down here. All right. All righty. Anyways, real quickly, on our Facebook page right now, we had the honor of talking to a VFL basketball star, Jawan Smith, played on the Tennessee men's basketball team with Chris Lofton, Wayne Chisholm, Tyler Smith during the Bruce Pearl era. We got to talk to him last Friday. The video is already posted on our Facebook page. Please go check that out. Jawan was very appreciative of spending time with him. And we, just a great time we spent for a few minutes. He answered all of our questions, very polite. So definitely check out that Jawan Smith interview I did over the weekend, going into the McMinn County High School Hall of Fame, his alma mater. Just very humbling interview, just a great time, and glad we got to reach out to him on that. Brad says Jared is the man, also voice for McMinn Sports, also a voice of Tennessee Wesleyan basketball. So he does that too. And Jared saying thank you. Join the showcase our local talent in Athens. Absolutely. McMinn goes to Ray County Friday night. I don't think I'm going to drive to Evansville for that one. Any more questions or comments? Continue with your score predictions, comments, questions. As said, this is your show. I mean, I'm just here, just kind of feeding the information. This is your chance for, almost a night. We're been on for 40 minutes. If you want to continue to go on and do that. Bryce has been a great show as usual. Thank you. Phil says, "What about Joe Milton? Is he playing Saturday?" From what I gathered, he is playing. Just seemed like he kind of got banged in the knee. He had an MRI uh, Sunday. Didn't hear any big news out of it, so I guess he's good to go. Uh, I'm sure he'll be stretched out, ready to go, like I said, and he's going to have to be a key factor because we have failed Nico as far as getting some playing time goes. Brad says he's playing. Okay, good. Um, yeah. Like I said, that's why I was shocked that Nico didn't start the second half. I mean, we had a comfortable lead, and they rolled Joe back out there, and Nico didn't come into the fourth quarter. And first pass he threw to was a drop pass by Dante Thornton. I was just like, great. And but we'll see. I don't expect to see Nico to play this weekend unless something catastrophic happens. Um, maybe a trip play or so. But yeah, this is a big game for Josh Heupel and the staff to get back into SEC contention, especially in the SEC East. Obviously, Georgia's more likely going to win it, but still finish near the top of the SEC. Huge game. I mean, and also you also have Florida and Kentucky playing Saturday in Lexington. Kentucky's undefeated, but Kentucky's played basically nobody this year. They blew out Vanderbilt, and just like I said, this is going to be their first big test, big game for Billy Napier too, and Mark Stoops. Let's see a couple more questions. Oh man, we're going quick now. Brad says truly a huge game, man. Should be fun. Jared says let's get Vol Society to 50,000 followers for the end of the season. I love it, Jared. Yes, we're at 42,000 right now. Yeah, if we can get, I think we can get that, Jared. But yeah, like I said, share out this video. Tell everybody about Vol Society. We get a lot of traffic to our page, but a lot of people will comment or leave a like, but not really give a follow. But still 42,000 now, almost 43,000. I mean, that's just fantastic. So take Jared's advice right there. Let's see. Brad says, "I hope Kentucky wins." Yeah, that'd be huge for us, somewhat. um, Greg says, "I hope I say Brew scores the first touchdown." Now, all right, I can see that. My goal is to fill Neyland with followers, 102,000 or 101,000 now, I guess. Um, oh, by the way, uh, I'll get to Scott's question in a moment. By the way, as far as Neyland Stadium goes, I remember during the Austin P game it was a little hectic to get into the games. They've actually fixed it up a lot better this time around. They put up some signage of where to go into the gates as far as uh, the construction going on outside of Neyland Stadium. So it was a lot easier to get in this week compared to the first game. So kudos to that. Scott says, any improvement from Joe this week? And I think the big improvement for me is to run the ball a lot more. I think running the ball is going to be a big key factor. I feel confident and right. And Jabari Small, we've been singing the praises of Dylan Sampson, but I think Joe needs to be kind of another option running the ball. Um, we saw glimpses of that in the first quarter, obviously. But I think I think that should be a big improvement is running the ball, and then be consistent passing, which is a tall task right now, unfortunately. But that's to me what I would see the improvement is just running the ball more consistent and try not to get hurt. Let's see. Phil says Tennessee got out of South Carolina. We help you all at Voth Society. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Thank you. Joey says I can't remember his name, but the linebacker transfer from BYU, is he still hurt? Or is he going to be playing? I thought he was hurt. Yeah, Keenan Peely. It sounds like he's going to be out at least through October. Sometime in October, he should be back. My guess, and I'm not a doctor or medical expert, but I can see him maybe back after the bye week. So we have this game coming up Saturday. Then we have the bye week on October 7th, and then October 14th will be Texas A&M. So I could probably see somewhere in that neighborhood of maybe him coming back, maybe against Alabama. But he's been hurt. Uh, so it's unfortunate because he was been a great leader coming in. Um, just unfortunate the timing of that. Scott says, I think he needs to show that he will run it with the run pass option so they don't key slowly on the run. Yeah, great point there. Um, yeah, it's just I think that's going to be a real big key factor is just running the ball. I mean, yeah, we already mentioned South Carolina does a good job defending the run, but like Tennessee doesn't need to shoot themselves in the foot every time. Penalties is going to be a big key factor. Holding penalties, uh, even defensive penalties. Obviously, it's going to be a big one. But for Tennessee's offense to get clicking, I think Joe Milton's going to have to really contribute a little bit more running the ball. Um, the short passes, screen passes, bubble passes, I'm fine with. I know fans are tired of it. It's kind of redundant, and yeah, I agree. But if that, for right now, if that makes Joe Milton feel comfortable and makes the coaches kind of feel comfortable moving the ball, I say go for it. UTSA did stop it quite a bit in the second quarter, but the game's kind of out of reach somewhat. Um, but just I think, like I said, this has to be a big game for Joe and the running backs, really everyone. Even our secondary. I mean, Rattler. I wish I wrote down what his yardage was average wise, but kind of he's already got 1242 divided by 4, 4, 8, so about 300 yards passing, which that's a lot. If you can kind of keep Spencer Rattler under 300 yards passing, I think you might contribute something. Um, Obviously, takeaways are a big thing, but I just don't. Our secondary's not ball hawks, and yeah, we got 2 picks last week. They're kind of one was a deflection picked off by Warren Burrell, and then McDonald read a good slant and ended up picking off that first quarterback. But anyways, Scott says that's becomes the offense is run screen. I want to see the hurry up and shots down the field, much slower pace than with Hooker. Yeah, and I'm sure that's what Apple wants to. I mean, they know Joe's arm, and Joe he did connect with Ramel Keaton on that 50-yard touchdown pass. I mean, Keaton had to hold it, had to really get it and hold it in, but that was huge, and hopefully that's a little bit of a momentum boost. But and then that one pass he dropped, he ended up getting hurt on. Um, but also we'll have to challenge our wide receivers. I know we've been kind of hard on Joe, but some of our receivers do need to make some catches. I mean, even when Nico was in, Thornton had a drop catch. I know. Yeah, Dante has been a letdown. I'm going to just quit. That's 2 years in a row. I've said someone's going to really be an impact player this year, and they haven't contributed. Jacob Warren and Dante Thornton. I'm just going to pick Brad next year as my impact player. I'm just quit doing that. But Thornton's going to have to make some catches. Squirrel, I wouldn't say he's having a sophomore slump, but there's been a couple drops from him. Keaton's dropped a couple. Brew has been. Brad says, "Yeah, buddy." Um, Brew's probably been the most consistent. Greg says, "Could our tight ends be huge in this game?" Yes. McAllen Castles, he's already got a touchdown this year. I think he can. I think McAllen Castles can be big. Jacob Warren. I think they just like Jacob to block instead of really catching balls. So I think he'll be fine there doing what he does. But McAllen Castles, he can be a key factor too. Seems like he can go down the field and catch it. Scott says, I agree, not much space with the receivers and several drops. Yeah. It's been frustrating because it's kind of once again the what if. What if some of those catches would have been caught? Obviously, you could have scored more points. I think you could have beat Florida. You could have definitely beat Florida, come back from, especially in the second half. Florida was not good in that second half. Uh, you know, Tennessee could have easily come back and won that game, or maybe just lost a close one. You could have really blew out Austin P. Really even blew out more of UTSA. Um, it's just definitely a what if. Bryce says Brew has been the best so far. Yes. Scott says definitely some confidence for Joe with the reduction of drops. Yeah. And we all know, and like I said, I want some more touches with Joe's passes. Don't fire it in there. Um, but like I said, receivers do need to contribute too. It's kind of all over the place. Brett says, I'm still so mad about that Florida game. That team is not better than us. I agree. We got more talent than them. It's just we let ourselves down. Let's see. Greg says our receivers are not getting separation and not giving much of a window. Yeah, absolutely. Scott asking Brad, is Brent your brother? Yes. I agree. Okay. Yeah, definitely, and that's definitely going to be a big key factor. And I mentioned South Carolina. They got some great DBs, and like I said, they pretty much lead. Besides Williams, they kind of lead. There's one, two, three. There's 5 out of the 7 leading tacklers on South Carolina are defensive backs: Jalen Kilgore, DQ Smith, O'Daniel Forton. Can't read my own writing. That's pretty bad. Marcellus Dahl. Just on and on. So hopefully it's a good thing. Maybe we can get some slant patterns for 6, 7 yards, and they do rack up the tackles and just keep it going. But it's gonna have to be Joe doing it, or maybe Joe can just run all over the place and, and get him tackles that way. I golfed with him in a tournament last Friday. Great guy, awesome. Any other questions or comments? We got probably about 8 more minutes here on this live stream. You want to get your final questions, comments, score predictions, all that. This is your chance to be heard here on Ball Society. Scott says thoughts on the O line. Just missing Cooper Mace. That's kind of the first thought. Really getting these guys lined up. I like the guys that we got. At times they open the holes definitely for our running backs, picking up a few yards. Just pass protection is just kind of very iffy. Like I said, I think we got the talent. It's just kind of getting confidence in themselves. But Cooper definitely is. Cooper definitely is a big key part of not being there. Brad says, I like them, but not performing at a high level. Definitely so. Greg says 52-24 Vols. I would love that. That would be a fun car ride back with David East and Brad and his friend. Yeah, I would love that. Who knows? It could be. We've seen blowouts the last couple of years, which is funny because for several years in a row, Tennessee South Carolina was the closest rivalry game for in all the SEC rivalries. It was like less than 3 points, and now the last 2 have been blowouts. So maybe we can get the blowout this year on our side. Phil says Tennessee 30, South Carolina 15. I would love that too, a 15-point win. Definitely. Scott says, my personal thoughts holding back this year doesn't seem like we have a true leader on offense or defense. Yep. Joe seems like a great guy, but maybe not wanting to be the bad guy. I think Beasley's a great player, but needs to assume the role of the leader on defense. Go Vols. Yes. We mentioned that before. You look at guys like Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, Darnell Wright, Jerome Carvin, Byron Young, just so many great guys that's now playing Sundays in the NFL. Those are your leaders last year. You cannot tell me Hendon Hooker, if he was on this team this year, went down to the swamp and we're down that big, that he wouldn't have a fire in his belly of like, we're going to try to come back and win it. And I just think we've got a lot of guys that's just hesitant. And same thing with Beasley. I think Beasley, I like what they're using with Beasley, but yeah, I think he needs to be more of a leader on that defense, especially with Keenan Peely out. Um, you got a lot of kind of young guys and a lot of inexperienced guys out there. Beasley needs to be definitely that quarterback of that defense. I mean, I like what he's doing, but yeah, could be better. But that's a big key factor right there. Let's see. Brad says Joe is not a leader. Period. Great, good guy, but not a leader. He said, and I think I already read this. I will be blown away if we blow them out. Kevin says, hope Coop is back and Jalen Wright and everyone steps up this game. Payback. Yes. I mean, there's a good possibility that everything could be clicking and crowd can get involved and we can blow them out. But, it's just that confidence in themselves. Maybe maybe kind of have like maybe Heupel can have that Dan Lanning moment, just like fire his guys up and go out there and blow out South Carolina. I mean, I like Heupel, but Heupel's not really a fiery guy per se unless he's mad at a referee. It's kind of a Rick Barnes to a certain degree. But I do want to see some fire and bellies on this Tennessee team Saturday night. Joe's not a leader, period. Good guy. Okay, really. Milton kind of acts goofy sometimes, losing a game, scores a touchdown, flexing the camera. Yeah. I remember even the Florida game, like he threw an incomplete pass and was kind of like smiling, like, well. And I wasn't too happy with that. We gotta get some guys that plays mad but don't be jerks at it too. Like I said, I know it's kind of hard to say, but get that fire in your belly and have like an Oregon-like performance. Scott says, "How's the progress of Nico?" We haven't really used Nico that well. Riding still, still out there to figure out if he's good. I think he's got the talent. It's just we just not put him in great situations. I mean, the Virginia game we gave him a little bit of playing time. But we missed an opportunity against Austin Peay, missed an opportunity against UTSA. I mean, yeah, he played 2 series, but Nico really needed to play that whole entire second half. Even when UTSA was coming back, I think Tennessee would have been even fine with Nico. It's like, yeah, okay, oh yeah, they're coming back. Maybe Nico goes 3 and out, but we're getting him some reps, and we're just missing golden opportunities with him. But it seems like Heupel and the guys, they like him. They like Joe, I should say. Bryce says, need true leaders and winners. Tough to find these guys, but they're out there. And then he also said Nico hasn't had an opportunity yet, so unfortunate. Yeah. Scott says, just didn't know if you've heard about practice or how he was progressing. I mean, we've heard rave reviews from Nico throughout spring practice and fall camp, and probably not enough to overtake Milton as far as the starter goes, but if we're hearing great things and you have a comfortable lead on Austin Peay or UTSA, why not use it out there? And we're just kind of wasting opportunities. Justice says, how are we wrapping up on the corners by, or how are we wrapping up on the corners by? Sure, what do you mean by that? Or I guess how are we wrapping up on the corners by? Yeah, as far as corners go, I think it just got to be better for that. Scott says, I like to see Nico for 3/4 in a UTSA game. Yeah, I mean, even in the second half. Sorry, meant to. Oh, okay, got you. On the quarterback. Oh, how are we wrapping up on the quarterbacks? That's okay. Yeah, like I said, as far as Joe goes, this kind of consistently inconsistent, and we just kind of wasted opportunities for Nico. And even with Nico, like I said, I would have just had him play that whole entire second half. Even with UTSA kind of come back there, at least you can be like, well, we had Nico out there, and that's okay. But even I think UTSA kind of knew they I wouldn't say they threw in the towel, but they were definitely like not motivated towards the end of the second quarter. I'm trying to remember. I think they ended up punting. Yeah, because I think like with a minute to go, they ended up punting back to us, and then I think we ended up just taking a knee and going in the locker room. Yeah. So missed opportunities. Any other comments or questions? We went over an hour tonight. That's awesome. Big game coming up on Saturday. What's this all about? Okay, sorry, I'm just doing a little thing here. Little notification popped up. Anyways, I don't think it affects us. Anyway, sorry. Phil says Brad Frank and the Davids of Boston Society have a great rest of the week. Thank you, Phil. Enjoy the Smoky Mountains. Thank you, Scott. Thank you guys. Go Vols 27-24. Vols. Steak joining us on YouTube. This is a very important game. Tennessee is going to win. Yes. I like it, Steak. Even though Dees and I are still kind of siding South Carolina, but deep down we do want to see our Vols win. Hopefully it's a blowout win. Just gotta. Like I said, I want to see some fire in the belly. I want to see some optimism. I think the crowd's going to be jacked up, ready to go. It's just that confidence. Can we get that confidence for 4 quarters and maybe maybe we can have a repeat of that Kentucky game or South Carolina 2 years ago. Jared says, I'll try to find you guys on Saturday. Great job. Once again, thank you very much. And Scott says, tell Brandy's a long knocker. Yeah, definitely come find us, Jared. All right, that's going to wrap it up tonight for Vol Society Live. Thank you for everybody tuning in. We got a bye week next week. We'll figure out what we'll talk about. I guess just kind of recapping South Carolina and kind of previewing the rest of the year. And like I said, this is your show. I'm just here kind of directing traffic, if you will. But I appreciate each and every one of you. Vol Society will be at the Tennessee South Carolina game this Saturday. All 3 of us will be there. So come and see us Saturday. Say hi to us. Hopefully we'll get to meet you all. And a lot of cool stuff. Tailgate Thursday coming up this Thursday at noon. Previewing the college football games this weekend. Obviously the game on Saturday. Obviously, since it'll be the bye week next week, there'll be no Josh Heupel press conference on Monday afternoon. And we'll do the podcast, and we will have a Vol Society Live. Yeah, definitely check out the podcast. We had a fun episode. Real quickly on your shout outs, I forgot to do this. Shout out to Phil, Scott, Ryan, Joey, Trish, James, Brent, Karen, and the 7 others can't read because the StreamYard won't let me. And then Kevin, Angela, T. Lander. Thank you once again, Angela. Her son's Jeremiah. Darlene, Patrick, Tammy, and Ricky leaving us a like and a love on the Facebook. That's going to wrap it up tonight. Thank you for tuning us. We'll talk to y'all next Tuesday night. We got South Carolina Saturday. Dark mode is intact. Wear your black. Let's make a lot of noise. Let's go out there and beat South Carolina on Saturday. We'll talk to y'all later. Have a great night. Go Vols. Be kind to each other. And we'll talk to y'all later. Good night, everyone. Go Vols.